I feel like that is why so many people get their self-worth from people outside of, God or themselves, is because they've put the value in other people's reaction to them.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it starts from a lot of times from that first moment, that first relationship. And it's usually mom and dad most of the time, or it could be some type of authority in your life or someone that you're looking up to.
Right.
And I noticed that about myself. It's like my mom and my dad both did the best they could. And I'm doing the best I can as a mom.
And I think those of you guys listening, especially my children if you're listening, I think most parents do the best they can.
We're doing the best we can.
The best they can will work. Because you've pushed back on me before when I start doing the negative self-talk. You always say that. You're like, you did the best you can with where you were right then.
Exactly what you had.
Yeah.
And so the great thing about it is that we get an opportunity. We have this consciousness that we can open ourselves up to the world around us and learn something new.
Yeah.
And then be able to share that and make a difference in the people's lives around us, especially our children. And that's what I've done. I've really focused on, okay, Lisa, who are you? And look at the relationship you're already having with yourself.
Right. So all right, so if people haven't done that, where do they start?
I think for me, it did start with me looking at the relationship I'm having with myself. And a lot of times...
How'd you do that, though?
A lot of times...
You just sit down and go, hey, self, how we doing?
Hey, self.
Right?
How we doing, girl? No. A lot of times it happens when some jacked up stuff has happened in your life.
That's where I wanted to go.
Right?
Here we go.
Right? You're like, oh, how did I get here?
I think that's most of it. Like, we hit the proverbial wall or
Yeah.
rock bottom or whatever. And for me, I know when I've hit rock bottom before, I thought it was a bottom, and then just the bottom fell out again. The
bottom fell out of the
just
bottom.
kept coming, right? But I think so many of us, that's where we start looking at, all right, what the heck is going on?
Yeah.
And that for me was where I started realizing how much the relationship I had with myself was affected by external forces, external people, a lot of which were the wrong people.
Right.
Like, you let the wrong people in your life, your world, which is why I'm so, you know how protective I am. I'm so super protective of the people I let in my little bubble. Because if you let the wrong people in, they will jack up your relationship with yourself.
Yeah, that's very
And you
possible.
won't even know it. I think most of the time, like a lot of the times, people, at least for me, I'm just throwing it all out there. When I had, people in my life that just were not good humans.
Right.
Or, for whatever reason, or I let them affect me more than I should have. It's
Right.
hard to come back from that. I think the first step is admitting you have a problem.
Yeah, the first step is being okay. This is not the most healthiest relationship I'm having with myself, and
Right.
why is it there?
So, all right, so stay on that for a minute, because a lot of times I'll know people, obviously not me.
Of course not.
But other people I know. No, they'll have people they're in a relationship with, and it's always the other person. It's like, well, they need to do this, and they need to change this, and they need to change that. And I've had this conversation with a few friends, and I know you're grinning because you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I've had this conversation with friends lately where I'm like, you can only control you.
Yeah.
So you need to look at what portions of that relationship you have control over.
Yes.
And that's a hard thing to learn at an early age. I think the earlier we can
Yeah.
learn that, the better. But that's where we can really go in and say, okay, what can I control about me, and how am I feeling about me?
Yeah.
Because if you feel crappy about yourself, you're attracting the crappy people.
You do. If you do, I totally agree with that. And that's why I say it starts with your relationship with yourself.
Yeah.
And taking some time out to say, okay, assessing, okay, where am I at with this? It's a lot of unlearning.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing for me. I had to do a lot of unlearning about
Yeah.
what I thought was true.
Yep.
And that helped me to see where I was at with myself. Like, okay, Lisa, where are you in this relationship with yourself? Well, you know what? You don't always have to say yes. But I thought growing up, my mom's like, you say yes, and that's being kind and nice and loving.
Right.
But if you say yes to everybody else, you're saying a lot of no's to yourself.
Well, I think that's with anything. Anytime you say yes to something, you're saying no to it. Everything's a balancing act,
Yep.
right? If you're saying yes to an opportunity, you're saying no to another opportunity.
Absolutely.
You're saying yes to a person, you're saying no to a person.
Yes.